What's going on, you guys? This is Bridget Kelly, and you are locked into We Talk Weekly.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to welcome to the show, Gerard Brown. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show. I had to put my clap on for that one right there.
You know, listen, I want to say that it's really an immense pleasure being here. I wasn't spending, I just did a thing here the other night. And I was going down Mark Street in Philly, and I was like, this is really nice.
Right.
It's like, well, I got to hang out here more often.
Mm-hmm.
So, and plus, the guy actually got me into writing, as I mentioned earlier to you guys. He's from, he's from Philly. Mm-hmm. I went to Howard University with him. Well, like I told you about the play, he was first black playwright to have his work produced at the Eisenhower Theater at the Kennedy Center. His name is Bobby Crawford.
Interesting.
And he's from Philadelphia.
Okay.
Also, for the next thing, Wynn Thomas, I tried to get him to come the other night, but I couldn't. He's also from Philly. Mm. He's a production designer, and he's black. He worked on, are you ready?
Yeah.
Cotton Club, A Beautiful Mind, Cinderella Man.
Wow.
A Bronx Tale. Okay.
Big.
I asked him, I told him that I was doing this. I want him to come. But he's in L.A. now working on a Will Smith film. And he's from Philly.
Right.
And a very, very interesting guy. A guy definitely worth knowing.
Yeah.
So when it comes back to New York, I'm going to go by his crib and, I hop on him and say, like, look, man, you got to go home. Because they're trying to do some stuff there, man.
That's right.
With your resume.
Send them home.
With your resume, you can really do it.
I appreciate that. Send them on down to We Talk Weekly right here in Philly. So let's talk a little bit about, what got you. And before I go into the movies that you have written for and what that experience was, let's talk a little bit about what actually got you into writing. Oh,
okay. Well, I talked about that the other night. Bobby Crawford, the guy I was talking to before, he took me to a poetry reading. And I saw those women in there. And I was like, I got to go home and start writing something. And so I did. I swear to God, that was my motivation. Okay. And so like I started writing the poetry first. And my mentor, like John Killens, and it was being well received. And our mentor, John Killens, he stopped me. And because he was the first person to say to me that I could write, that I figured he knew what he was talking about. And he stopped me one day going out of class and said, listen, give me this poetry stuff. Start writing some short stories. Start writing some one-act plays. So I started writing plays, and the plays started to get done at DC Black Repertory Theater. Then on a play, I moved up to New York, got my first full-length play produced at the New York Shakespeare Festival at the prestigious Public Theater, which really put me on the map, And if I could say something about that,
sure.
Can I talk about the bad news?
Yes, you can. Please do.
I was getting no props when I came to New York. I had a load of plays, and I went to Negro Ensemble, Moss Repertory. I like when Entry Settlement. I went to all the traditional black theaters to try to get at least one of my pieces done, and they just egged me. So I got a grant, and I put one of the plays up myself, and that was a play that went to the Public Theater, and that's when I started getting props from the black community. It took a Jewish producer to give me cred, with like my own black community. And that really pissed me off.
I'm sure it did.
So
how did let's just jump into that real quick. When it comes to writing and getting into writing as someone of color, how hard do you believe it was for you versus someone who, doesn't necessarily look like us?
Okay. First of all, the hard thing about being a writer is getting getting your stuff read.
Okay.
Okay, because everybody wants to. What I recommend to anyone is produce your own stuff. is to get out there and just do your own stuff. Because I talked about this also the other night. And every writer I know has been ripped off. Every single one. And I know a lot of writers, and they've all been ripped off. You know, I mean, you know, even me twice. You know, and so, but writers are so desperate to get their stuff read that they, you know, like that they submit it, and the studio or TV production house or whatever, like they pass on it, and then 2 years later they come home and they turn on their TV and there's their show. You know, that's happened. That's happened. You know, I mean, it's not produce your own stuff, get your own credit. Writers don't have power anyway, except in theater. Writers do not have power in theater. Writers only have power in theater. Writers do not have power in television. In television, it's the producer's medium, and chief producer is called the showrunner. He or, you know, Shonda Rhimes, right. Norman Lear, you know, like they are the ones that have the power, like in TV. In movies, it's the director. And I proved that the other night when I talked to the people there, and I said, you know, because Hollywood, especially, celebrates the director. They do not celebrate the writer. Right. And I asked them, they all knew who Spike Lee was. They all knew James Cameron was. They all knew Steven Spielberg was. They all knew Martin Scorsese was. When I brought up David Kopp, I got blank faces. David Kopp is one of the most successful writers in Hollywood. He wrote Jurassic Park. He wrote Spider-Man, the original Spider-Man. He wrote Indiana Jones and the Crystal Skull. He wrote Panic Room, which is, I have all my students. Wow. One quick thing. I have all my students read the Panic Room script and then look at the movie, because structurally, David Kopp is a technician, and it is structurally the perfect script. Wow. Okay, in terms of story structure. You want to learn how to write a screenplay? Follow David Kopp stuff. I talked about William Goldman, who was my favorite screenwriter. He just passed away about 14 months ago. He wrote, I saw him in an interview in the late 80s. He was being interviewed by this guy named Marshall Brickman, who was writing a lot of Woody Allen stuff at the time. And he talked about, this is a guy, he wrote Butch Cassidy and Sundance Kid. He wrote All the President's Men. He wrote Princess Bride. He wrote Marathon Man. Okay, so he was no joke, okay? He talked about how he went on a set one day. He wrote a script in studio, and, you know, like studio bought it. And then they sent him the letter, don't call us, we'll call you, we'll let you know when the red carpet is. I told him he'd tell you some sad stories. But he wanted to find out what they were doing, because he said he came from theater, he wanted to know what was happening. So he found out from somebody he wasn't supposed to find out from, where they were shooting the film, the script that he'd written. So he went over there one day, walked out on the set. He's talking to all the techs, he's talking to the wardrobe people, he's talking to all these people. Everybody saw him, everybody knew who he was. He said he was there about 20 minutes. The second assistant director, walked over to him and said, listen, I've been instructed to come over here to tell you that if you don't leave the set immediately, I'm to call the local sheriff and have you arrested. Wow. Okay? Seriously, directors tend not to want writers around. That's why everybody's trying to be the writer-director, like Cameron, like Tarantino, because they can control their own stuff. They can write whatever they want. They control their own stuff.
Interesting. So I'm curious now, how much, I guess, okay, I'm gonna just back up, right? Because in Hollywood at this point, it's a lot of push for writers of color. Yes. Because we're able to kind of tell our own narrative, yes. Right? And so as a comparative measure, right, between then and now.
Yeah. You have great opportunity now.
Right.
You know, because first of all, when I started writing, the thing that I continually ran up against as an African-American writer was, can he write for Caucasian characters? Right. Okay. You know, I mean, they could write for us, but we couldn't write for them. You know, but now,
irony, right?
Yeah, really. Mm-hmm. But now, with all the venues that are now, and you could shoot stuff, you know, we had to buy film, which cost money in terms of processing. We had to rent equipment. You can go out, you can shoot a decent film now with your phone. Mm-hmm. You know, and plus, and plus there are a lot of other venues. One other thing about that, I talked to a colleague about this when you know, when like Black Panther had just been released, it was kicking butt. We were talking, just a couple of black writers sitting around talking, and we were talking about how You know, a lot of time, you know, when we put stuff before with black leads, the whole vibe was, well, you know, they don't sell well foreign. You know, like you got. I wrote a script once, really, really good script that Ernest Dickinson wanted me to do for him too, and we couldn't get it read because it was a dark sci. It's called Cheaper City Blues. It was a dark sci-fi. Actually, it was like Bruce Lee meets Blade Runner. Okay, okay, it was that type of stuff. And but the lead in it, the main character, the protagonist was a black male, and we couldn't get it read. So one of the producers attached to a project, one night he called me. He said, "Listen, could you go through the script and change?" The guy's name was Geo. He said, "Could you go through the script and change all the references to Geo, still making them black, making me either white or non-race specific?" After I did that, it started getting read. And you know, then after that, like it started getting read.
Wow.
So, but now you don't have that. So we were talking about, you know, Black Panther, which was a monster hit, and then we talked about Luke Cage that was on Netflix, and Black Lightning, which is on CW Network.
Right.
All three of those projects, they all have black male leads, they have strong black female characters, and they'll have predominantly black cast, and they all did extremely well. So they can't say that anymore. They can't say that to you like they said it to us, you know. So, I mean, because the opportunity is too great and we can go out there and we can do our thing. Plus, Tyler Perry started his whole studio thing, you know, like, you know, down like Atlanta. You know, this is a new day. This is a new day. In spite of Donald Trump, it's a new day.
Right. And talking to that, how could someone, I mean, now who's very interested in being a screenwriter, you know, because there are more opportunities for those of colors to start writing, how could somebody get into, you know, getting a script read or even to start?
There's no one size fits all.
Okay.
With that. It's like I said before. Write your own stuff, produce your own stuff. Because if you send it out there, if somebody likes it, they're going to say they didn't like it, and they're going to steal it. Mm-hmm. Okay? I mean, you know, and so basically, you got to have your name on that credit. You got to. Otherwise, it's a waste of time. Right. I've seen it happen again. It happened to me. Mm-hmm. Okay? It's happened again and again and again and again. Yeah. Okay? You know, like it happened to two of my boys, you know, who got me into writing. It happened to him big time. Mm-hmm. So, you know, and so basically, you gotta get out there. You gotta do your own stuff because your first project is your calling card. You know, like I said, you gotta get out there. You gotta show them that you understand this and that you know how to do this. Plus, it's all subjective. I've written stuff. This is under contract. This is work for hire stuff. Right. But I've written stuff that I just half-ass put together, handed in. People came back to me and said, "This is great. You're a genius." You know. The other times I busted my butt on something, thought it was really, really good. I mean, some of the best work I've ever done. You know, like I had to throw them back at me as garbage. Yeah. I mean, like it's like you never know what people are looking for.
Right. I would be remiss to not ask you about, you know, this current situation with Tyler Perry and his house, you know, as it relates to him, you know, being very vocal about necessarily not needing writers, and he writes everything himself. Yeah, right, and it was a big argument about that. You know, how are you going to say that you're here for, you know, the black community, right, or people of color when you're not hiring writers, right? So what's your perspective on that?
I don't want to dog Tyler Perry because we can't really afford to do that. I would say that hopefully he will evolve. And, you know, I want to become more secure in his position in terms of what he's done and what he's continuing to do. You know, that's basically all I'm saying. You know, I mean, like, look, Tyler Perry knows his audience. That's how he made his money. Okay? And you know, and so I'm not going to knock him publicly at all. I mean, you know, I mean, a lot of black film people have, you know, and black social commentators, but still, you know, saying stuff is steeped in negritude and all this other stuff. But he started from nothing, and he made a fortune, and he's broken ground with the studio. I mean, with these studio lots. So he has become a tycoon, and so hopefully as he evolves more and more, he will begin to step out of the mindset he may have had before in terms of how he's going to deal with that.
So do you think someone who has such a large body of work and produce so many different from series to theater to plays to blockbuster movies, do you think that it's necessary to sometimes get help in writing so you can, I guess, build the story, so to speak, or get some diversity? Or do you think anybody can just he I'm sure he is talented, right? So do you think someone can actually do that for a course of time without kind of reworking or recycling the tone or the messages? You as a writer,
I will tell you this, all writing is rewriting. Okay, I tell my students that all the time. That, I've only written one draft in my life that I've never had to change. Every other thing I've done, Juice, I had to take the Juice through 4 drafts. Okay? So basically, what was your question again? I'm sorry.
Do you believe that someone like, anybody like Tyler Perry that has such an extensive body of work can continue writing without help in writing? Because people tend to think that you're reworking the message, reworking the story, and it sounds similar.
When it loses its luster, when it starts not making money anymore,
okay,
like that's when you go through. And and plus, it's all subjective. I will tell you, it's all politics too. There is a writer who I will not mention. I just saw his name on the credit today. Who's very successful, who's not black. And he's being celebrated, and he gets work all the time. I've seen mediocre writers work all the time, and great writers who never work, because they don't know how to politic. I've been accused of that. But I was meeting with James Cameron's development executive, and we were talking about him, and I said, "What is it with him? Why does he get all this work? I mean, I've read his stuff. I don't think he's any prodigy, how is it, that he's able to to have all this happen, for him to get all these assignments." And she took my hand and squeezed it and said, "Gerard, he's very good in a room. He knows how to work a room. You gotta learn. You gotta know how to politic."
Right.
And listen, I got half of my jobs at parties, okay? And at functions, Writers Guild functions and stuff,
There you go, ladies. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, if you're watching, you better go out to these functions and network.
Yeah, really.
You got to rub elbows, right?
And also, don't dog anybody's work.
Okay.
Even if you think it's horrible, do not dog it, because you may have to work with this person.
That's right.
Okay? And they could hurt you professionally.
Right.
If you're out there, right? "Oh man, I saw that man's piece of crap, blah, blah, I wouldn't spend $1. Yeah. And in the meantime, you putting 50 cents worth of gas in your car.
I know, that's right. So that's a great transition, because you mentioned Juice, right? But before I go into Juice, it's another one that I want to talk about, because it happened to be one of my favorite kind of animated series, which was Spawn, right? The animated series. And, let's talk about your work on Spawn, and how did you get that gig?
Okay. I got that gig. Okay, look. In writing, whenever you write something, they just know you for the last thing you did.
Correct.
Okay? The show I had before Spawn was Happily Ever After Fairy Tales for Every Child, which is the best job I ever had. And I mean, the episodes I wrote has voice of Denzel Washington, of Whoopi Goldberg, of oh God, I'm blanking out. Raven Simone, Tone Loc, Alfre Woodard, David Alan Grier. I mean, Tisha Campbell. I mean, some really, really good. But they didn't want to give me that job because it was a children's series. And they only knew me for Juice and for the plays that I've written, which were all adult dramas. And so, they were like, "Well, can he write?" any children's stuff. So my agent called me and said, listen, you gotta give him something, you know. And so she said, take any popular children's story, okay, and just do your own spin on it. So I did The Boy Who Cried Wolf. I did my own spin on like The Boy Who Cried Wolf. And they, you know, and they said, okay, and they gave me one episode first. They gave me Rumpelstiltskin first because they want me to do a black adaptation of Rumpelstiltskin. And so I made him a roster, okay? And Robert Townsend did the voice for it. Then after that, then they gave me 3 more episodes. They gave me Goldilocks, they gave me Alibaba and the 40 Thieves, and they gave me was Goldilocks, Alibaba, and Rapunzel, which I made a Bayou story. And Whoopi Goldberg did the voice of the witch in that. Then I just saw a promo for Spawn. You know,
The animated series or
the animated series.
Okay.
And I was like, I would like to write for that show. And so I called my agent. I said, give me a meeting. And so they called, so she called them to try to set up a meeting. And they said, Gerard Brown, he just writes children's stuff, right?
Oh.
You know, like you said, he wrote Juice, you know? So basically, so they just know you for the last name. And so basically, Spawn was a black character, an African-American character. The writers were all white. Everybody on that show was white. Every production meeting that I went in, I was the only black person in there, okay? So basically, they were compelled. They said, well, we got to have a black writer. So they gave me 1 episode, and then they gave me 3 more again. Wow. You know?
Right. For the new one.
Yeah.
Wow, fantastic. So after that, you got to come back on the show so we can talk about it a little bit.
Oh, you mean the new Spawn?
Yeah, the new Spawn.
No, I don't want to. No, I'm not doing that.
Oh, no. She said, I'm not doing it. I don't want to do that. That's
no. Honestly, really, you get to the point where there's some people you're not interested in working with, and that's the point I reach with that.
And that's fair. That's fair. Yeah. So that's a great transition to go into Juice, because that has been pretty much the African American cult classic /
to my astonishment,
everything. So let's talk about that. Let's dig into that a little bit in terms of 1, how did you get that? 2, the creative process behind that.
Okay.
And 3, you know, talking and meeting the characters if you did. So let's start with that.
Okay, it happened by chance. Juice happened by a fluke. Okay. And it took 4 years, which is not long. You know, I was talking the other night. You know, I Am Legend.
Yeah, Will Smith. Yeah,
and like Total Recall.
Okay. Yes.
They both took 17 years.
What?
They both took 17 years to get made. 17. Okay. Nice. You know, like, and so it took Juice just under 5. Ernest Dickinson and I went to Howard University together. You know, went to Negro U. I call it Negro U. Which pisses everybody off when I say it, but hey, you know, like, you know, but I say it with compassion. Right. My first full length play was about my dorm life. It was about Jonah was about my dorm life at Howard. You know? Well, or rather, it was based on that. We both went to Howard. Both graduated about the same time. He came to New York to pursue a career in film. I came to New York to pursue a career in theater. And he had the idea for it. And he called me one night, 1 o'clock in the morning. He said, man, I got this great idea. It's 4 dudes, right? It's 4 dudes. And so I rolled out of bed. I got the legal pad. And I wrote down. He had 4 scenes in his head. He had 4 scenes very vividly in his head. I wrote them out. Those next 5 weeks, I wrote the first draft. Because I had to come up with everything. I had to come up with their families. I had to come up with their relationships. I had to come up with all that stuff. You know, Steele is the only one that comes from a 2-parent household. Both Raheem and Q are being raised by their mothers. Bishop was being raised by his grandmother. Wow. You know, I had to come up with all that stuff. Right. And you know, but Ernest knew what he wanted in terms of the theme, in terms of the direction, which I'm glad you talked, because I'm going to tell you something about that, about the end. About it, you know, about the end of the movie.
We getting an exclusive, y'all.
So I wrote the first draft. I gave it to him. He gave me notes. Then I adapted the notes, put on a shelf, hung out for about 4.5 years. Then there were three producers on Juice. One was David Heyman, who's since gone on to do Harry Potter and Gravity. The other was Neil Moritz, who's since gone on to do the Fast and Furious franchise.
Oh my goodness!
And the third one was Peter Frankfurt, who did Blade. You know, like who did the Blade franchise.
One of my favorites. Yeah.
Okay, so they had a script that they had optioned. They had a script that they had acquired, but it was an inner city drama, black street drama. But they felt the script needed a rewrite, what's called a page one rewrite, which means you got to rewrite the whole script. You got, like keep the basic story, but you got. So they were looking for a black writer to do that. So my agent sent them Juice the script of Juice as a writing sample, as a sample. But they read the script, and they called it back and said, "We don't want to do this other script now. We want to do this.
We want to do the movie." Wow.
And at that point, we hadn't looked at the script in like 4 years. I had to go and read it again. Okay, I'm serious. And so that's how Juice got made.
Interesting. So do you go ahead, Sizzle?
I just had like a did you know? But did you know you've heard of the rapper Juice WRLD?
No, I didn't know Juice.
He just passed, but do you know he named himself Juice after the Tupac character?
Listen,
how does that make you feel?
I was shocked. Let me tell you something. I did not know. None of us know. Because when the film was released, the reviews were very mixed. And Ernest and I, we had, it was both of our first feature projects. And, like me as a writer, like him as a director. And so we couldn't really get what we wanted through all the time. Not even half the time. But before I forget, I have a friend in New York, Phoenix Carnivale, who's a big Juice fan, and she is an actor. Very, very good actor. And mixed martial artist. If you ever want to train in New York, you run into a woman named Phoenix Carnivale, leave her alone because she will kick your ass. But like she called me one night, and she said, "Go on Facebook and look up Roland Bishop." Look up because Ernest just had Bishop, so I gave him the first name Roland, and I looked up Roland Bishop. There were like 1,000 black people, 1,000 black dudes on that named Roland Bishop. It's like, wow. But I didn't know because there were other films that I thought that came out that were stronger, and so I was just grateful to get it done. And you get a paycheck because I got my Chevy. I wanted a Chevy.
I know this.
Okay. I got my Chevrolet. I drove by my girl and drove by Impato's place.
Now, do you get like residuals off of that? Like you? Yeah. Okay, you do. Yeah, right.
But they get smaller and smaller every year.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And plus also, it's crazy business. Mm-hmm. I told people. One of the most expensive screenplays ever sold. Did you hear me when I talked about that?
I did.
One of the most expensive screenplays ever sold for $5 million. And it's a movie you'll never guess what movie it was. It was called Deja Vu. It was a Denzel Washington.
Oh, right. I remember that. Yeah.
It sold for $5 million.
Wow.
Oh.
Okay. Panic Room.
That's a great agent, huh?
Yeah, really. Panic Room sold for $4. Okay. So basically, it's not, we were just happy to get it done. Ernest got a credit, I got a credit, and we could walk away. But the end, can I talk about the end?
Yes, please.
In the last scene of the film, when Q and Bishop fighting on the roof.
Yeah.
The way the script was written and what Ernest shot, he actually shot this, was Bishop goes over the side, Q's got him, and he's pulling him up. But in the script, Bishop hears the sirens. And he says, "I'm not going to jail." And he breaks Q's grip and he chooses to die. So basically, but the producers felt that's suicide and they didn't want that. But we set that up in the first act. But we set that up in the first act with the scenes involving Bishop and his father, But they were not, and they were writing their checks.
Wow, that would have been an alternate ending.
Right.
Wow, then no one knew. That's great right there. Interesting. Now, did you have the opportunity to meet any of the characters?
Oh yeah.
Okay. So how was Tupac? Like the late great Tupac.
I'll tell you that story.
Another story.
David, Peter, and Neil wanted 4 rappers in the league, so we looked at all these rappers, and so Tupac was in a group called Digital Underground.
Yeah, that's right.
And so they came in to audition, and I swear to God, Tupac was in the hallway trying to talk to some women. Okay, all right. And so Ernest went out there and gave him the sides for Q. He gave him sides for Omar Epps' part. And he came in. It was a co-reading. We didn't know at the time. He had graduated from Performance Arts High in Baltimore. Mm. And so he went out and he like 5 minutes. He came in. He did a good job. So then our casting person, Jackie Brown Carmen, said, "Give him Bishop," and he went out like 5 minutes. Came back and he freaking nails it.
Wow, that's big.
And so he was first one cast. Omar had 5 callbacks.
Wow.
Jermaine had just got shot down in North Carolina, but he still came up and auditioned. We were like, that kind of gumption, I guess we got to give him work. And Khalil Kane, it was his first job. One other thing, people think women were chasing Tupac around on the set. Women were chasing Khalil around on this set.
Wow, okay. That's funny.
Yes,
yeah.
yes. So that's what happened. I didn't know. I really didn't know. I just thought it would just slide off into like obscurity. Maybe other people will like somehow eventually get work by it, from it, and that'd be good. I mean, I've been okay with that. But 20th anniversary came up. They had a screening of it at the Magic Johnson Theater in Harlem, and so many people showed up. They had to open a second theater. Mm-hmm. It was a red carpet thing. So many people. I mean, Omar couldn't be there because he was doing the show, and Ernest was down in Georgia shooting a Walking Dead thing, and so and so he couldn't come. But Khalil was there. Jermaine was there. Jamil, Khalil, Jermaine, me. Although nobody knows who the writer is. Let me tell you the writer about. Well, never mind. I mean, because nobody knows who the writer is.
Right. Okay.
And so, so the movie, and so many people show up. They had to open up a second theater, and so they're running it in both theaters. So I'm in the lobby. I'm talking to a friend of mine in Maryland. One of my students comes out and grabs me by my wrist and said, "You got to see this." This is when it hit me that this has reached classic status. She grabbed me by my wrist and dragged me into one of the theaters, and the audience was yelling up the dialogue.
Wow.
Okay? And I was like, they know the freaking dialogue.
Yes.
That's right.
They know the dialogue better than I do, and I wrote it.
I know that's right. Fantastic.
I was like, damn. And that's when and then Vibe magazine came out with the top 50 films that most influenced hip-hop culture. Juice came in second behind Scarface.
Yes.
That's right.
Behind Scarface. I was shocked.
That's right, because you're talking about Pac, who has left an imprint on many of people out there.
And let me tell you something about that. If you read the reviews at that time, people thought there were a lot of critics that Pac had overacted. I mean, that's an overacting. Are you kidding me?
Role, yeah.
Right.
He was great.
So we have, time flies. We have about like 3 more minutes. How can So I got 2 questions, because I want you to be able to, for people to kind of get to, find you and where to locate you and all that.
I'm not on Instagram. I'm not any of that stuff. I'm on Facebook. You want to look me up on Facebook.
There you go. At what?
At Gerard Brown.
That's it. Okay.
Actually, I friended about 5 Gerard Browns on Facebook. I mean, just to mess with, and say like, look, you're talking to the wrong Gerard Brown. Talk to that Gerard Brown over there. No, but they can do that. Plus, they can email me, gerardbrown886@yahoo.com.
Fantastic. Now, what do you tell your students? Because you didn't get an opportunity to actually talk about you as a instructor, as a professor at.
I'm at the new school. Although I'm not teaching this semester because I'm going to have to go to California.
Okay.
But yeah.
But real quick, where can people see? What do you have coming up next? Like, what's that?
I just sold the script with my partner Jim Bergman. The working title is Graffiti Warriors or Graph. It's a period piece, 1972. Is when John Lindsay was mayor of New York and he declared war on all the graffiti artists.
Wow.
Who basically, the graffiti writers that we talked to and doing research gave homage to a guy named Cornbread, who was from Philly.
Mm-hmm.
Was in Philly.
Okay.
And so we just sold that, and I just finished a rewrite. That's going through about 5 or 6 drafts.
Wow.
And so, and I was probably going to have to go through another one, at least. So, and so we will see what's happening with that. But it's period piece, 1972. It's about the graffiti artists like him in New York, who basically a bunch of high school kids.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah. That sounds fantastic. Well, guess what? We talk weekly, all of us act. So because you said you was associate producer too, so you make sure you look down here in Philly if you need some actors up there in New York, to play. So that there you go. So
Go ahead, sure.
He said sure, there you go. He said sure.
Sure. They need more competition.
There you go. Fantastic. So I'd like to thank you.
Well, thank you for having me. I had a great time.
Yes, absolutely. This was amazing. I mean, this was historical.
I didn't tell you. Listen, anybody that wants to write a screenplay, read. There are 2 books that I recommend. One is called Save the Cat. It's by Blake Snyder. I have my students read that. Another one is called The Fundamentals Like About Screenwriting by Sid Field. They give you the rudimentary basics. After you read that, look at Panic Room, and you will see how David Kopp followed that
precisely.
It's like point by point by point by point by point.
Wow, the Panic Room. I actually like the Panic Room too.
Yeah,
that was great. That was a great.
Yeah, it's a great film.
movie. Yeah.
Right.
So again, I'd like to thank you for coming out, and again, I just want to give you kudos because you're a historic figure in culture.
My mother would love you saying that.
No, really, because that was a prominent movie that most of us grew up on.
Yeah.
And like I said, I like to give the flowers out to while people are here. So you're a legend. So thank you for doing that. I want to appreciate. I want to say thank you.
Well, thank you for having me. Thank you, and and the next time I'm going to try to get Wynn Thomas to come down here.
Okay.
Because he's from here. And he's a fascinating guy.
You guys, it's your girl Lauren Sizzle
and Classy Lady Sparkle.
And have you subscribed to our channel yet?
If the answer is no, you need to subscribe now.
Yeah, so stop what you're doing, go right now and subscribe. We like you, you like us, so go ahead and subscribe.
Come on over, be a part of the family of We Talk Weekly and subscribe to our YouTube channel.
So what are you waiting for? Subscribe
now.